Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to what is the first of what we hope will be a series of webinars. Today, we're delighted to be able to welcome Dr. Jan Leuzinger, who will be reporting to us his success and technique and rationale over the last, well, it's more than 10 years now, but 10 years plus for the use of the pitch patch for rotator cuff reinforcement of large and massive rotator cuff tears. So thank you, everybody, for joining. Just a few words of etiquette. You will, once we start the meeting, I will be pressing mute for all. So just to stop any unintended voiceover over the presentation from Dr. Leuzinger. The other thing that you need to be aware of is that we are recording this meeting. So you will have received a message, a little pop-up message inviting you to consent to that recording. If you don't consent, you won't be able to remain in the meeting, but if you do, you will. Chat will be enabled and for questions as we go through the meeting, and we invite you to submit your questions as you go. However, what we were intending to do is to save those questions until the very end when we have an open question and answer session. So let's move to the key thing here now. So if I can introduce Dr. Jan Leuzinger from the etzelclinic in Switzerland. Jan, welcome. Thank you for joining us. The simple thing for me to do is to hand over to you and we'll listen to your words of wisdom.
Thank you, Mark. It's very nice. Thank you. Hello, everybody. I think it's now in England, 6 o'clock in the evening, and we start immediately with the presentation. About my experience with pitch patch more than 10 years. Okay, we go up to the presentation now. Sorry, I have to share a little bit. So, wait. I think it's the first time we do this here because we do it always on Teams. And it's a little bit a thing of organization. So now this is the movie. Now presentation. First, we start with the presentation, please. So, okay. This is a presentation I showed this year during the NC live session. You will see also later the movie about the operation we had. I think since now the first NC live session, and you know the NC Congress is a little bit like the Olympic Games for shoulder surgery. I'm invited to do the surgery with the pitch patch. And this year I had also surgery. We'll show you a little bit later the movie. But now I will show you our talk. So, you know, cuff repair today, we have gold standards. Today we do it arthroscopically. I think there are still people that can do it open. That's not a problem, but normally we do it arthroscopically. We use today's suture anchors or transverse techniques. Discussing about single row, double row, we use triple row in combination with suture bridges. But we know also that we have limits. You know this expression, irreparable cuff tear, massive rotator cuff tears, and all the things. Where are the limits? On one side, if you have loss of tissue, you have not enough tissue. This is a big demand. Then also about bad tendon quality. Then in massive rotator cuff tear, the extremely strength on 3 muscles, they pull on the repair. Revision surgery, where often you have no tendon, you have just scar tissue. On the other side, real limits for us, the fatty infiltration, if the muscle is not working anymore, or the osteoarthritis, where you have no joint. So we developed, when you see, when you see the literature, you see in literature with massive rotator cuff tear, we have to deal with a re-rupture rate of 30 to 80%. That was older. The Gallants was the highest re-rupture rate of 90%. But in general, we have to deal with quite a high rate of re-rupture. So what we developed in our unit was the clover leaf concept. Whenever you see a tendon, you start. What's if you can fix it, that means you have a normal size cuff tear. You have a young patient. You have a good tendon quality. there are no limits. You can repair it. You repair it with a double row, with a triple row, with a suture bridge, whatever you want, or transosseous, but it's a repair. But there are a lot of cases where you can't repair it, and you should. These are patients where you have a loss of the tendon quality. You have, for example, no tendon there, maybe revision surgery, older ruptures, all these things, and you have a young patient, and you have to repair it, and you have no possibility, or you have a fatty infiltration in a young patient. In this case, you have to restore. That means you use maybe latissimus transfer, or pectoralis major transfer, or the deltoid transfer. All these tendon transfers are an alternative. But a lot of cases, you can close the cuff, but you shouldn't. That means you have a bad tendon quality. You have massive rotator cuff tears. You know you have a re-rupture rate of to deal with 40 to 60% or 80%. You have, maybe you can't close really this footprint. You have the tendon quality in all patients are weak. In this case, we reinforce it. This is, in our case, the biggest group in tendon repair where we can address. You know, we have a lot of patients, we can close it, but we are not very satisfied with the quality. And it's a little bit like in the hernia surgery 20 to 25 years ago. You can close it, but you know the tissue is not very good. In this case, we use the reinforcement. And in the last group, you can't and you shouldn't. That means you have fat infiltration, you have osteoarthritis, you have an immigration. In this case today, we have the possibility to replace, and we use the reverse prosthesis. So regarding the literature, can use different patches, and we have a lot of patches on the market. We have biological patches, we have resorbable patches, we have synthetic patches, we have combined patches. And there was a very nice study done in 2010 where they used human tendon cell, and you have seen the response of the different patches. It was an in vitro study, but the answer was very interesting for us. So
Jan, can I just ask you something? At the moment, we only see the opening screen of your surgery video from Annecy.
No,
are you able to share? I can bring up the older presentation, which has many of the same slides.
I have my presentation here on the screen, okay. But I think
we're currently seeing.
You can see now the opening slide of the video.
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah, this is not a good idea. No, we have to stop this now, huh? Can you see it now?
Yes, we have. Yes.
You have the presentation now.
We have the presentation.
Okay. Try to do it now.
And if
you know, we are a little bit lost with because in Teams it's very simple, but in Zoom we have everything here, but it's not working. Bildschirmpräsentation fortsetzen, ja.
If you click for slideshow,
can you read it now? Do you read it? Do you see the
Perfect.
presentation now?
We have it now. Yes. Tendon cell response page.
Very interesting that you. Oh yeah. Okay, now it's going on. The conclusion of this study was very interesting, because we have seen in all these different devices, there were cells just on the border of the device, but never in the matrix. That means there is absolutely no ingrowth. Even in biological implants, these are just reinforcement. Even a biological implant is like a piece of leather. There are no cells entering in the structure of the device. And it was very interesting that there were also no tendinocytes filtering in the grafts. For sure, the first reaction of the tendinocytes was favorable in biological material, but it was more or less not very important. For sure, in the first 10 days, the less favorable reaction was on synthetic devices. So what we started some years ago, a prospective study with the minimal follow-up of 3 years with constant score, subjective shoulder value, and MRI. With three different patches. Inclusion criteria was massive rotator cuff tears, but also revision cases and better tissue quality in older patient, exclusion fat infiltration or osteoarthritis. We used as the biological patch, the oldest one, the graft jacket. It's a human biological matrix with different collagen. Then from the synthetic side, in this time, we had the artelon tissue reinforcement. It's a polyurethane patch, but without a special border. It was just a very simple tissue. And Resorber was the first Resorber patch from Johnson & Johnson. It was Restore. It's a submucosa patch in different layers. And finally, what we found out during this study, very interesting, the constant score, like always, was tremendous good. You see it went up from 40 to 80 in all the different techniques. It was not a big difference, but you know, it was just a 6 months follow-up where we closed the first study round. We have seen in all the different implants foreign body erection, and we had an overall re-rupture rate of 30%. That means it was more or less, maybe a little bit better than in the literature, but not far away. You know, in Restore we had a quite high re-rupture rate. We tried to make a re-repair, but just 3 satisfying cases, and 12 we turned till now, and you know, we have to follow up till now. It's now mostly 15 years ago or even longer to reverse prosthesis. So when you see the cell response on the graft jacket, you see it's just a superficial response. There is absolutely no ingrow in the device. When you see the response of the artelon, and the artelon fibers are much thicker than the pitch pad fibers with polyester, you see that it's growing around the fibers. It looks like the concrete around the metal when you put it in a concrete wall. Looks very nice, but it was also no ingrow, and you see that this material is resorbable. So after a certain time, it's 50% of volume is gone. So it was during the SESEC, I think 2010, around 11, we had a workshop where we discussed with a lot of different surgeons, what do we need? We need something strong. And strong means more than 150 Newton. We need something safe, should be sterile, because we have seen all these foreign body reactions. We had seen in older studies, there was always DNA found in even in the sterile, the clean biological things. We need maybe something synthetic, because in the first results we have seen the synthetic patches are stronger. Then also very important, because we are surgeons, we have to bring this implant in the body, and you don't want to bother around with the quality of the patch. You want to have the patch, and you want to have holes, and you have to be strong, and you have to be simple. So what we do, we prepared the patch with reinforcement and with holes, so you can stitch it and you can bring it in quite simple. And also very important today, this polyester is not so expensive. Regarding the patch now, it's what you see, other implants are maybe 3-4 times more expensive. And I think today, with the worldwide development of the prices in medicine, it's very important to have a fair price. So we made a follow-up study, very nice study this time. It was a prospective cohort study. We had 50 patients in, and we had minimum follow-up when we started from 22 months till 52. Now we've made even a follow-up on 60 months to all the. We used just one patch, the pitch patch we developed with Xiros. It was the same follow-up with constant score subjective shoulder value, but this time used after the MRI, also a long-term examination with ultrasound. Now you see the technique. Should start now, tuck, tuck. This is the official technique, and I think it's very important to understand the difference of this technique to the other techniques you have today on the market. First step is when we enter in the joint, we use a cannula just for the patch. I think it's maybe also one cause we have never till now infections with patches, and I think we implanted more than 1,500 patches till now. First of all, you have to repair. The repair has to be stable. Maybe you can't close the footprint, that's not important, but you have to close the repair. Then you prepare 2 sutures to pull it in, and the sutures have to be medial. That has to be in the junction between muscle and tendon. So you have a strength bypass by the muscle to the bone. And this is very important. These stitches have to be very strong. You can't make here boss stitches or, and then on the lateral side, it's also very important. We use here knotless anchors to have to achieve the good tension and the good fixation on lateral. Until now, we never had a re-rupture on lateral side. We had even maybe you have a re-rupture on the medial side, the medial failure because the tissue is too soft here, but we never had we never lost the patch on the lateral side. Now you make these stitches, and with the stitches you achieve a certain tension on the implant, and it looks really nice. Okay, now you see it in life. Okay, this is a lawyer, and when I opened the shoulder here, my partner, Dr. Sturmer, told me, "You are crazy. That's absolutely impossible to fix this." But what I saw before, we have no osteoarthritis or no important osteoarthritis. The man is 55, and the muscles have no fat infiltration. So often, when you have no fat infiltration, you will find soft tissue. So what we start on the anterior side, and we try to close the cuff from anterior to posterior, but it's important to have soft tissue there. I'm sure it's not a real tendon tissue. Maybe 50% is scar tissue, but you need soft tissue to finally that the soft tissue will ingrow in the patch. And when you make histological analysis after 2 years, you will find a normal scar tendon tissue, but a working scar tendon surface, and inside you will find some fibers, but they are not visible from outside. So we start from anterior. You see, we go down deep in the subscapularis. We make the anterior fixations, and we use here always 1 to 2 to 3, 4 anchors. I think it's very important. We use quite cheap anchors, but I love to have a lot of fixation points. You know, you have these anchors with 3 or 4 sutures, but then finally you have the whole fixation on one point, and I prefer to have a lot of different points. Now we come from posterior, and you will see when we bring the tendon from the infraspinatus a little bit higher, and then you will see you can close the pad from anterior to posterior. It gets tighter and tighter, and you see here the tendon quality looks ugly, but it's there. You have a certain tendon. You see here, I pull on this tendon, and there you have soft tissue, and even it's not just bursa, it's also tendon tissue, scar tissue, everything a little bit mixed. And we do step by step. And you can see now we are from posterior. We try to take also the inferior layer. So we have both layers. We have to be very careful. And the tissue is not very strong. So we are very careful with the sutures going through the tissue without harming the tendon too much. So we are here now posterior. And you see on the other side, you see now it's getting like a V. It's closing much better. So now this will be the last stitch from posterior. And we go to anterior. So now we take the soft tissue. You see the soft tissue is not very nice, but believe me, this is tendon from supraspinatus, and in front is just the interwall. And we try to find the interwall or the best tendon to close really the cuff. And this is an old instrument. We use it often, and you will see with this first stitch, when you close it, this is now from tendon to tendon into tendon suture, and now the first stitch, and we close the tendon. It looks nice, and there is no tension here. It looks really nice, and we are close to the edge of the footprint. And when we start now to make the knots on the posterior side, you see we can do it again and again. It's very important to close till the footprint. And when we are on the footprint, then we can start with the patch. So we use now here the anterior sutures. And now you see, now we have sutures from the anterior ankle to the anterior and posterior part of the tendon. And we try to bring it always more and more lateral. And the amount of soft tissue is not bad. It's maybe not the best quality, but it's a lot of tissue there. And now you see, now we are over the footprint, not perfectly close to footprint, but with each stitches, it's getting better. And then we use also the medial stitches to make a suture bridge. So we use from all the stitches one suture or one limb. And then we use knotless anchors, and we make a suture bridge to achieve a stiff interval or a stiff interface between tendon and bone. And you see we have here a lot of stitches. So we can do even like first broderie, like a local made patch you see here. And now we have the lateral sutures, and we bring it in. And you can achieve the good tension. And the advantage of these anchors, the sutures are sliding, you know, you are not pulling too much. When you bring it in, it's a certain, it's not too strong, it's not too tight. So now you see the anterior anchor, and then you will see the posterior. And I think before we had the patches, it was now the end of the repair. You know, we have been satisfied with this repair, and then you have to be very careful. You put your patient between 6 to 8 weeks on a pillow, and you thought maybe there will be a healing, but you see the repair is okay. But now we go to the next step, because to protect the repair, we have to find the junction between muscle and tendon, medial side, and there we put the first sutures to bring in the patch. So we have 2 sutures, one anterior, anteromedial, and one posteromedial. And we pull the sutures out. These are PDS, but these are just to bring in the definitive sutures. Now you see the strong sutures on the medial side, one anterior, you can see, and one limb goes out to the anterior incision and the other one through the cannula. And we make the same on posterior. And on the posterior side, we try to bring it from the cannula to the posterior portal. Now we pull in with the medial sutures the patch, and cause of the shape of the patch, you know, there is no problem. The patch is always flat inside. There's not like in the biological patches where you have to bring in the patch. There it's always a problem. Maybe it's bent. Maybe there is it's never really nice on the tendon. So we fix on the medial side, and medial there is no elasticity. So here the distance is defined. It's always the same, 3 centimeters distance. Now here we make the knots, and then we can pull on the lateral. Internet is unstable. Do you read? Hello? Do you read? Is everything okay? Yeah.
The video is a little jerky, but it's
okay.
We have everything.
We have a small problem with the internet, but I think it's good. Now you see, now we have here the lateral suture, and we bring in this knotless anchor. And with the knotless anchor, you can pull on the structure as much as you want. And the idea is to bring the patch over the lateral edge of the repair. So the repair is really nicely closed. It's quite stiff, the interface, and the strength from the muscle go now via the patch to the lateral part of the bone. So you protect your repair. So you have anterolateral, anteromedial, then you have posterolateral and posteromedial. You have the 4 fixation points, and you have to find a good bone quality. Then when you are satisfied, you will achieve this picture. So you see now it's really nicely done. And till now we can start with the small patch, with the small stitches. You see here now the stitches, one after the other. And this is the end result. Okay. You see it from lateral, nicely done. So this is the patient. And believe me, this is now 5 months after repair. This is my partner, Dr. Sternberg, and he's, you see the strength is tremendous. And we have also the MRI control. And this guy is very active in karate and jiu-jitsu. So you see the strength is, you have a really good range of motion, but a normal strength. Okay. So you see, okay. Now, talking about our results, we had 22 two-tendon tears, all massive, all bigger than 3.5 centimeters, and 23 three-tendon tears. Mostly supraspinatus, infraspinatus. Just one case was an anterior, just the subscapulary supraspinatus. Mostly are these trauma cases. The retraction was normally quite big, between 2 and 3 pate, but fatty infiltration we avoid to have Goutallier 3. We had some Goutallier 2 in one of the muscles. Regarding the results in constant square and subtractive shoulder value, when you see the constant square preoperative, around 40, it was like last time in the other study, 10 years before, 15 years before. And we achieved also in the short follow-up after 6 months a constant of 80 and the subtractive shoulder value for more than 80. But till the last follow-up after 5 years, there was no changing. So it's after, I think after 1 year, after 6 months to 1 year, we achieve the result for the patient. You see here, this is the foil out of the study. You see here we achieve really good 5-year postoperative, very nice follow-up with subjective shoulder value and constant score. We had in this group 7 complete re-ruptures, but just in one case we had to make revision. We had to make a delta flap. It was an anteromedial rupture. I think it was even maybe not necessary, but it was a very active man. The other 6 patients showed till now good function. This was end of the study. One of the patients now got reverse prosthesis. It was 5 years later. But there was a significant difference between pate 3, that is the big retraction, regarding the retear rate. All the retears are in the pate 3. And also the significant difference for Goutallier 2, all the retear rate was being Goutallier 2. We had some revisions, and that's why we have these beautiful pictures. We are really happy to have the revisions, so we can talk a little bit about results.
Jan, is that me
This was
or
the case. You can see. Sorry?
You just froze for a very brief moment, but you're back.
Okay, it's always a problem with the internet. And we had in one persisting crepitation, we removed the patch after the repair, and we made side-to-side repair. I think this was the problem of a very, very active patient without compliance. He started to move after 2 weeks, and the patch needs a certain rest to be covered with the soft tissue. If too active, it will be covered at the surface, and then it can make crepitations. But you see here also the histological examination of this patch we removed, and this was now after 6 months. And it's you have a nice ingrow around the sutures, but when you see the small around the fibers, when you see the small fibers, you have also the soft tissue coming in all around the fibers. That's very nice. So when you regard now in the moment the studies from Baldrist, where you have re-rupture rate of 12%, of 40%, re-rupture rate of 42%, 40%. These are all newer studies with the arthroscopic repair. So compared, we have now the conclusion, we have 11 years of experience with more than 1,600 patches implanted. We have, compared to the regular massive rotator cuff repair, better outcome for sure. We have now an option to augment the bad tendon quality, massive rotator cuff tears, all patient, scar tissue, revision cases. In all these cases, we can now augment the tendon. That's very important because this is a lot. These are many cases we have in our practice. The intact reconstruction shows significant better results than the re-tears, that's for sure. And pitchback shows in general very good results in massive rotator cuff tears. We have seen till now with 1,600 patches, no foreign body reactions. That's very important for us. We know also from all the other studies that resorbed patches show little effect on tendon integrity. That's why I was a little bit surprised that the newest product on the market is resorbable, but we have seen now the preliminary results are quite disappointing. And I think the most important for us, the patch shouldn't be for us, it's a very big benefit for the patient. Thank you for your attention. This is now the Matterhorn, the most famous mountain from Switzerland, 2 weeks ago. Okay, bye-bye.